December 2022. The 2400 Briar West Apartments in Houston, Texas.
Right, you have to picture being there. You're standing in the bathroom with a tenant named Gerald Denise Freeman.
Yeah, and it is just a completely ordinary, everyday moment. I mean, she's taking a shower.
The hot water is running. The room is filled with steam.
There's absolutely no reason to suspect that the very architecture of the room is about to turn into a weapon.
None at all, but then without warning, the ceiling above her simply gives way.
Yeah, this massive, waterlogged expanse of drywall collapses directly onto her unprotected body.
The sheer force of the impact strikes her head, her neck, her back, and her right arm, just driving her down.
It's horrific. She suffers severe physical injuries, profound mental anguish, and permanent disfigurement.
And she ultimately files a $1 million lawsuit against the operators and owners of the complex.
Right, Commerce Capital Partners, LLC, and Comcap West Oaks, LLC.
But to truly understand what happened in that bathroom, you have to look past the physical impact.
You have to look at the invisible science of the failure.
Exactly. This wasn't just a structural break. It was a slow, deliberate chemical one.
Because there was a hidden plumbing leak.
Yeah.
Right, just dripping steadily and silently.
Yeah, saturating the gypsum board in the ceiling, the stuff we call drywall.
And the core of standard drywall is made of dihydrate calcium sulfate.
Right. Under normal dry conditions, it's rigid, it's reliable, and perfectly safe. The crystalline bonds hold it all together.
Encased in a thick paper backing.
But when water makes sustained contact with that core, the chemistry changes. The water literally dissolves those microscopic bonds.
So the once rigid board just turns into this soft, heavy, disintegrating mush.
It acts like a sponge. It absorbs more and more of the leak, gaining an incredible amount of mass.
And you have to imagine the physics hanging right above her head. Every gallon of water weighs over 8 pounds.
So as the ceiling becomes saturated, you've got hundreds of pounds of invisible dead weight suspended in the air.
Which means the physics dictate a single violent outcome.
The heavy paper backing of the drywall tears violently away from the metal fasteners holding it to the joists.
Because the downward force entirely exceeds the sheer capacity of the nails. The metal stays in the wood, and the ceiling drops like a stone.
It's life-altering. But the most horrifying aspect isn't the chemistry or the physics.
No, it's the paper trail.
Right. Court documents allege that 9 months earlier, Freeman actually reported bubbling and puckering in that exact patch of drywall.
She saw the warning signs. She saw the moisture distorting the ceiling, and she asked for help.
And the maintenance staff's response was just staggering. They walked in, looked at the water-damaged ceiling, and simply sprayed bleach on the surface.
Wait, they just sprayed bleach?
Yep. Checked the upstairs, found nothing obvious, and handed her a repair order claiming the issue was resolved.
Wow. Which brings up this terrifying legal concept known as gross negligence.
Exactly. Ordinary negligence is a mistake, like leaving a wet floor sign in the wrong place.
But gross negligence is consciously, willfully disregarding a known severe risk to human life.
When you bleach a structural water issue in a load-bearing ceiling, you aren't fixing the hazard. You're actively hiding it.
You're disguising a bomb. Which brings us to the ultimate question. Who was responsible, and did they know?
2018, the Norwood neighborhood in the Bronx, New York.
You're in a cramped, bustling kitchen. It's Easter Sunday, the smell of dinner is in the air.
A 44-year-old home health aide is standing at her stove, preparing a holiday meal for her family.
Again, a completely domestic, safe environment. But directly overhead, hanging invisibly above the stove, is a threat.
An unremedied water leak running wild within the floorboards of the apartment above.
Completely saturating the kitchen ceiling's plaster and sheetrock.
And people fundamentally underestimate the raw physical weight of saturated building materials in these old New York buildings.
Oh, absolutely. Plaster is already incredibly dense.
Right, and when it floods, it transforms into hundreds of pounds of dead weight, clinging to ancient lath and rusted nails.
It's just a reservoir of water held back by friction. And as she stands at her stove, the ceiling violently caves in.
A massive slab of wet plaster smashes directly into her head, neck, and back.
The impact is so severe, it knocks her entirely unconscious on her own kitchen floor.
And the medical aftermath is just devastating. Because of the sheer kinetic energy, her body is broken in multiple places.
Yeah, she endures 5 separate surgeries. A complex cervical spine fusion, where they literally fuse her neck vertebrae with hardware.
She undergoes arthroscopic surgery to repair deep labral and rotator cuff tears in her shoulder.
Injuries consistent with trying to brace against a massive falling object, plus dozens of steroid injections in her knee.
She'll never be the same. She ultimately secures a $5.85 million settlement, represented by Block O'Toole and Murphy.
with the defendants being the building's ownership and the property management company.
But the chilling detail emerges later. The day before the collapse, she had reported the leak.
The building superintendent came to the apartment.
He personally stood in her kitchen, inspected the ceiling, and saw the sheetrock was visibly heavily wet.
He went upstairs, stopped the active leak, but then came back down and looked her in the eye.
And falsely assured her the kitchen was completely safe to use, told her not to worry.
And later, under oath, that same superintendent confessed he knew wet sheetrock was structurally compromised.
He admitted he knew it could collapse.
He looked at a deadly hazard hanging directly over her head, understood the physics, and told her to go cook Easter dinner.
Who was responsible, and did they know?
1995, 610 Lake Street, in the Richmond district of San Francisco, California.
The air is thick with that damp, pervasive coastal fog. You're looking up at a 4-story wood-framed balcony.
And this is where the science shifts from chemical dissolution to biological consumption.
Right, the biology of dry rot, which is actually a deceptive misnomer.
Yeah, the process requires a specific, constant level of moisture. And San Francisco is a perfect incubator.
When coastal moisture gets trapped inside dark, unventilated exterior wood framing, microscopic spores take hold.
Especially if the lumber isn't properly pressure treated. Wood decay fungi aggressively colonize the interior of the timber.
And these fungi are living organisms. They need to eat.
They secrete enzymes that literally break down and consume the cellulose inside the wood.
The exact structural fibers that give the lumber its tensile and load-bearing strength.
So the wood just becomes brittle, crumbly, and structurally hollow.
And the terrifying part is the deception. From the outside, the thick paint or stucco looks completely intact.
A rigid shell. But inside, the joists are powder. The structural integrity is entirely gone.
Suddenly, without a loud crack or any warning, the massive 4-story balcony pulls away from the wall.
It just detaches and drops in a free fall,
3 tenants fall multiple stories to the ground.
sustaining severe, life-threatening injuries. They file a lawsuit against the landlord, Fay Tom.
The case, Berusing v. Tom, ends in a massive confidential out-of-court settlement.
And in premises liability law, plaintiffs have to clear a high hurdle, proving actual notice.
Right, you can't just argue the landlord should have known. You have to prove they did know and did nothing.
And during the investigation, a terrifying detail comes to light.
The tenants had repeatedly warned the landlord about a strange phenomenon.
Tiny wood fragments, literal sawdust, constantly raining down from the underside of the balcony.
Because as the fungi consumed the joists, the digested, powdery remains drifted out of the cracks.
It is the textbook sign of advanced terminal fungal decay.
The physical disintegration was happening in broad daylight. They were watching the supports turn to dust.
Raining down on their heads. And the landlord completely ignored it. Who was responsible, and did they know?
Saturday afternoon, May 8, 2021. You're on the deck of an oceanfront VRBO rental in Malibu, California.
The sun is shining, ocean breeze is blowing. It's a birthday gathering.
15 to 20 adults standing out on the wooden deck, drinks in hand, looking at the Pacific Ocean.
And in structural engineering, there's a difference between a bending failure, where a structure sags and groans, and a shear failure.
A shear failure is sudden, violent, and instantaneous.
The supports beneath this Malibu deck had been under attack by that same aggressive coastal wood decay we saw in San Francisco.
But accelerated by the heavy sea salt and relentless ocean spray.
The timber had been entirely hollowed out by rot, and as the guests mingle, the weakened supports reach their breaking point.
They can't handle the overloaded capacity. They snap instantly.
The whole event is captured on a neighbor's security camera. In a fraction of a second, the deck just vanishes.
It drops 15 feet in a terrifying freefall, crashing onto jagged coastal rocks and shattered glass.
The screams are immediate. 9 people are severely injured on the rocks.
Paramedics rush 4 to trauma centers, with 2 left fighting for their lives in critical condition.
The city of Malibu red tags the luxury home immediately, declaring it too dangerous for habitation.
A vicious legal battle erupts. The homeowner points the finger squarely at the renter, who retained attorney Grayson Goody.
The homeowner's defense seems ironclad. She points to a sign explicitly limiting occupancy to 6 people.
She cites the rental agreement forbidding parties. She even shows phone records proving she was ordering them to leave exactly when it fell.
arguing the renters overloaded the structure and caused their own injuries.
But the plaintiffs hit back with a devastating counterargument.
Through intense structural analysis of the debris, they argued the wood framing was so severely rotted, the occupancy limit was irrelevant.
It was a disaster waiting to happen. It didn't fail just because there were too many people.
It failed because the rot was so deep. The structure was ready to snap under the weight of even a single person.
When decay reaches that level, the building is fundamentally unsafe. The party just dictated the timing, not the inevitability.
Who was responsible, and did they know?
June 16th, 2015. Exactly 12:41 a.m., 2020 Kittredge Street in Berkeley, California.
You're standing at a modern apartment building called Library Gardens. It's a 21st birthday party.
13 young adults are packed onto a small, concrete-topped balcony on the 5th floor.
And the balcony is supported by cantilevered wood-laminated veneer lumber joists, LVL joists.
Cantilevered means no exterior column supporting it from below. It acts like a diving board.
Relying entirely on the strength of the wooden joists anchored deep inside the floor system.
This wasn't an ancient building, but a fatal flaw was baked into its bones during construction in 2006.
A severe defect allowed rainwater to penetrate the waterproof membrane and get trapped inside the sealed assembly.
In that dark, waterlogged space, a highly aggressive strain of wood decay fungus took root. Serpula lacrymans.
This fungus is incredibly efficient. It produces long, root-like structures called rhizomorphs that transport water from damp areas into dry wood,
allowing it to rapidly obliterate the structural integrity from the inside out.
For nearly a decade, it systematically digested the LVL joists holding up that fifth-floor balcony,
turning the load-bearing wood into fragile, hollow husks.
At exactly 12:41 a.m., the cantilevered joists suffer a complete catastrophic shear failure.
The balcony simply breaks off the face of the building.
13 young people fall 50 feet through the dark air to the unforgiving pavement below.
The impact is unsurvivable for many. 6 are killed in the immediate aftermath.
Mostly bright, young Irish college students on J1 summer visas. Ashley Donahoe, 22. Olivia Burke, 21.
Eogan Culligan, 21. Nick Schuster, 21. Lorcan Miller, 21. And Imir Walsh, 21.
7 others are left permanently traumatized by the 50-foot drop.
And in 2022, survivor Aof Berry dies from a stroke directly caused by her severe brain injuries from the fall,
bringing the final death toll to 7.
Collective civil payouts exceed $20 million, and responsibility zeroes in on 2 massive entities.
Segway Construction, Inc., the general contractor, and Graystar Real Estate Partners, the property management company.
The California Contractors State License Board permanently revokes Segway's license, finding they willfully disregarded the architect's plan.
They cut corners using thinner composite materials highly susceptible to rot, instead of the heavy pressure-treated wood required by the blueprints.
But the most haunting detail belongs to the property managers.
Long before the collapse, student renters had filed maintenance complaints about literal mushrooms growing on the wood surface of the balcony.
In building safety, falling sawdust is a red flag. Visible mushrooms fruiting directly out of exterior load-bearing wood is a blaring siren.
A mushroom is just the fruiting body of a massive hidden fungal network.
The moisture levels required to grow a mushroom out of lumber mean the interior is entirely catastrophically compromised.
The rot is total. And the management company completely ignored it.
Because of this horrific, preventable slaughter, California is forced to pass Senate Bills 721 and 326.
Fundamentally changing how building safety is monitored, mandating strict, recurring, invasive structural inspections by licensed engineers.
You can no longer just look at the stucco, assume the wood underneath is safe, and hope for the best.
6 young people. A birthday party. A balcony that changed California law forever.